Hello and welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox.
All right.
All right.
How are you, Rachel?
I'm okay. Just put a couple kids to bed. We've been playing Nintendo Super Mario 3, which is the only any kind of game console that my children have ever played. So they think they're unaware of any other kind of video games.
That's charming.
Oscar and Greg have been playing Super Mario 3, and Greg's been dragging Oscar along the levels because Oscar can't actually beat any levels. And then he's just like constantly whining, can you come downstairs and help me beat level 6 and help me beat level 5? And to just think when we were kids, we were on our own.
I know.
The Nintendo wilderness, trying to like find the warps and the secret tunnels and everything on our own. And here he's got two parents that know every single trick for every single level.
He should soak it in now before he actually moves on to a console you don't know.
It is crazy though how it's been 30 years and I go back in and I remember where different things are.
You know exactly.
Yeah. Only in certain games, only on the Super Mario games.
Yeah, I'd be able to do it for the Super Mario games and also the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
We had one called Anticipation that was kind of like Pictionary. Like the computer would draw something, you'd have to guess and then like spell out what it was. And after you had played a few times, you would know every single one.
We had a Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego game, and they have all these sort of Jeopardy style clues that take you through finding Carmen Sandiego, and it came with like a pretty thick reference book, but if you played the game enough, you would learn the answers to things. So you felt like a genius after a while. You're like, I know that one. It's Van Gogh. Click next level.
So I have a surprise for you. It's a quiz, and the quiz is Dead or Alive, classic TV movie stars.
Oh my God.
And I have a list of 25 names here, and you've got to guess if they're dead or alive.
Oh my God, I'm not prepared, but
nope.
I will give it a shot.
I customized this myself. I did not find a quiz.
And this is TV stars or TV movie stars?
These are like classic TV stars. I was trying to find people from classic TV, because obviously like the people from the TV shows that we're covering in this podcast are mostly still alive. So.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly. Okay. Well, number 1, Bob Newhart.
Alive.
Correct. Number 2, Mary Tyler Moore.
Dead.
Correct.
I was really sad when she died.
Barbara Eden.
Alive.
Correct. Florence Henderson.
Alive.
Wrong.
Oh,
Dead.
Damn it.
Cloris Leachman.
Dead.
Correct. Carol Burnett.
Alive.
Correct. Jim Neighbors.
Ooh, dead.
Correct. Jerry Lewis.
Dead.
Correct. Dick Van Dyke.
Alive.
Correct. Jamie Farr.
Alive.
Correct. Ed Asner.
Dead.
Correct. Shirley Jones.
Alive.
Correct. John Aston.
Oh, dead.
Wrong.
Really? Oh shit.
I will triple check, but
I believe you. I believe
okay.
you. Maybe I was confusing original Gomez with like movie Gomez. Movie Gomez is dead, so
I mean he's like 90 something, so it's
oh wow.
Marlo Thomas.
Alive.
Yes. Andy Griffith.
Dead.
Yes. Burt Reynolds.
Dead.
Correct. William Shatner.
Alive.
Correct.
He just went to space.
Dawn Wells. You know who that is?
I know who Dawn Wells is. Dead?
Correct.
Okay.
Tina Louise.
Oh, dead?
Alive.
Oh.
Leonard Nimoy.
Dead.
I know you knew that one.
I know all the Star Trek guys.
Yeah. Peter Falk.
Oh. Dead.
Yes. Emmanuel Lewis.
Ooh, alive?
Yes. You can guess what the next one is. Gary Coleman.
Dead. Okay.
Wilford Brimley.
Dead.
Yes. Brian Dennehy.
Dead.
You did good. You only missed 3 out of 25.
That's not bad.
Nope. 22 out of 25. That's an A.
Thank you.
So that was fun.
That was fun. That was a fun game. Now I have to think of a game for you.
I would love a quiz. Okay, so we are here to talk about Early Edition.
Everybody makes choices. That's the American way. It's in the Constitution. Every schlub has a vote. You get up in the morning, you decide what to wear, what to eat, what to waste your money on. You go with what you know, which usually ain't much. But what if you knew what you knew before you actually knew it? If that's confusing, so is getting tomorrow's paper today. The point being, sometimes the choice is easy. And sometimes you don't have one at all. What would you do if you got tomorrow's news today?
Which is described on Wikipedia as an American fantasy comedy drama television series that aired on CBS from 96 to 2000, set in Chicago, starring someone who would become later on much more famous, Kyle Chandler from Friday Night Lights. It follows the adventures of a man who mysteriously receives each Chicago Sun-Times newspaper the day before it is actually published, and who uses this knowledge to prevent terrible events every day. So it stars Kyle Chandler as the main character, and then the sidekick is played by Fisher Stevens, who was also in something else we watched. Oh, he's on Succession.
I have a lot of great facts about Fisher Stevens.
Wasn't he in Batteries Not Included?
No, Short Circuit.
I get those two mixed up.
Me too.
Short Circuit deserves a rewatch.
If the movie was remembered, it would be canceled already because Fisher Stevens plays an Indian.
Oh, right. Yeah. As a kid later on, I saw him in something. I was like, wait, where's his accent?
I think even as a kid, I was like, what? They couldn't find an actual Indian to play this character. And he was in both movies. He was in Short Circuit 1 and Short Circuit 2.
I did not recognize the other sidekick, Shanicia Davis Williams.
She's blind and she's a secretary and she enjoys gambling.
In the episode we saw, the pilot, I think she was just going to a racetrack every day and making a tiny bet just because she was trying to earn money to buy a seeing eye dog.
Oh, that's correct.
And it looks like Christy Swanson comes in at some point.
She's a foil, I think, for him because I think Fisher Stevens leaves after season 2. And so they had to like bring in other characters to sort of play against Kyle Chandler. So.
And Five-ish Finkel comes in later.
Oh, yeah. This show is chock-a-block with people you know. Just the pilot episode we watched had Felicity Huffman, Tom Noonan, who is a character actor. He was in Manhunter, which was the original version of Red Dragon in the 80s. He played the guy who was going to shoot up the bank. He's out and about. He's always around. And then in a very small, and I'm talking basically featured extra role, Tracy Letts was in the pilot. Do you know who Tracy Letts is?
The name sounds familiar.
He played the dad in Lady Bird.
Oh, yeah.
He's a writer. He wrote Bug.
Harry Coon's husband.
Yeah. He wrote August Osage County. So he played one of the cops in the kind of standoff at the bank. So I watched a couple more episodes. I think I watched 4. And the other people that showed up in just those 4 episodes were Mae Whitman. She still acts now, but she was a child actress. She was on Chicago Hope. She was in Independence Day. And then Cynthia Nixon and Jane Krakowski.
Wow. Wait, so is Felicity Huffman not a regular member?
No.
She's not listed here as a main or recurring character.
She was just in that pilot. I don't know what happened, but the pilot makes it seem like she's going to be a recurring character. And in the second episode, he goes back to the police station and asks for her. He's like, can I speak to officer blah, blah, blah? And they're like, oh no, she got demoted. she's on traffic now because she listened to some crazy guy with a newspaper, you know?
Maybe she didn't want to be on the show.
Yeah, maybe she had another commitment. Who knows? But
There's some interesting nuggets on the Wikipedia. The plot of the series was adapted into a Thai film titled Who is Running in 1997 without giving any credit to the original.
well, there you go.
But then it says in season 4, episode 20, the series finale that aired a few episodes early, it is briefly explained why Gary started receiving the paper. Apparently, he was given the responsibility by Lucius Snow, the man who received the Chicago Sun-Times before Gary, after Snow saved Gary's life when Gary was a child. The responsibility is represented by a pocket knife imprinted with the initials of the person next to receive the paper. The initials mysteriously change every time the current person decides on a new person to receive the responsibility. And then I guess at the end of the same episode, Gary passes on the pocket knife to a young girl named Lindsay Romick, who had just lost her grandfather. Doesn't really explain why anyone is receiving an early paper, but
no, that means, you know, we could get a reboot. She's an adult now. She can start receiving that paper.
Mm-hmm.
I find that so interesting that this show totally takes a pass on any sort of mythology. It's almost as if it's not interesting to them. I feel like if this show is made now, there would be so much of these episodes being like, what is it with the paper? Why do I get it? What is going on?
Well, it's very much like Quantum Leap.
Mhm.
Quantum Leap didn't have any of those questions because they're like, oh, future. It's just the future.
At least they had Dean Stockwell to sort of explain things a little bit. He was basically like, don't worry about it. But like,
Yeah.
I kept thinking though that this early newspaper almost curse, he didn't ask to get it and it follows him wherever he goes. It doesn't matter where he falls asleep. The newspaper shows up at his doorstep every morning. It reminded me of the premise behind the Santa Claus. Tim Allen puts on the Santa suit. Now he's Santa.
Well, it's because he accidentally killed the old Santa.
That's right. But it's just like this total burden for your entire life. Well, I guess now I'm the paper guy.
What a burden. Every day you get the paper and you're like, oh, if I don't do something, people will die. And I
Right.
have to do something. I
Right.
can never take a break.
Kyle Chandler's character, he's a good person. There is not even a whisper of him using it for illicit means. He could just be like a cajillionaire.
Well, the plot of this show is just super boring to me. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the only thing I was interested in is why his wife broke up with him.
It does not seem like they ever explain it.
What the hell? Like, it was just insane. He came home with flowers and she just dumped all his stuff out in a suitcase. And then in the next scene, he's like, she still won't talk to me. I keep calling and like writing and she won't talk to me. It's like, this person's having a breakdown.
I watched 4 episodes and they really never elaborated on it.
That's just crazy stuff.
I know, it's nuts.
Okay, so what's the word for a drama like this? It's not an anthology, but it's like case of the week or like
Right.
story of the week. I feel like if you're going to do a case of the week, it has to be really intriguing, like X-Files or SVU. You're like, who did this? This is just like, let's solve this mild problem.
It is really the same every week. It's an ethical quandary. It's a philosophical question. Should I save this person or that person? It's just a lot of running around trying to do the right thing. And then sometimes you do something to change one event and it causes another event. So then you're running around more. I watched 4 episodes and I have to say, this show was not built for binging. I have never seen a less bingeable show. It's exactly the same every week.
Did you ever watch it when it was on the air?
My grandma did, I think.
I never watched it.
I think I was just always aware of it. I think I always thought that the premise was kind of silly. And to me, Kyle Chandler is the early edition guy.
Yes.
Oh, you mean the guy from Early Edition? He's done so many high profile things since Friday Night Lights. To me, he's just will always and forever be the Early Edition guy.
And he's handsome, but he's just very non-sexual to me.
He reminds me of a non-threatening Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta has this really like animal, like
Okay, I totally thought you were talking
dangerous.
about Ray. I was thinking Ray Romano.
No,
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. A less threatening Ray Liotta.
Ray
Not a
Liotta.
less threatening Ray Romano. He's like super handsome like Ray Romano, but like not as scary.
Isn't there a show, like a sliding doors show that started this season that has like a very similar looking guy?
That guy does look like him. Well, you and I were
Right?
texting about that show.
What's it even
Is
called?
it called like Josh or something?
It's essentially called What If?
Yeah, the guy does look like Kyle Chandler. He's the one that played, who's the busty redhead from Mad Men.
Christina Hendricks, yeah.
Jones' gay friend partner guy.
Right. He's the Bob from Not Now Bob.
Yeah. So early edition is not really much to write home about.
No, I wouldn't recommend watching it. It's pretty boring.
Mm-hmm.
It had its fan base. People were upset when it got canceled. And I guess they had some like fan events in Chicago.
Good old days. People would fight for television shows to not get canceled.
All I could think was this just seems like a show tailor-made to just be, you watch a clip in like a philosophy class.
It's kind of family-friendly programming.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch it and there's nothing offensive or
Right.
controversial.
Fisher Stevens is the wild card character, and he's the one who wants to use the newspaper for selfish reasons. And so he's always trying to like steal pieces of the paper so he could win at gambling, or he's a stockbroker. So he wants to get the advance notice so he can do insider trading basically. But, you know, Kyle Chandler always rebuffs him.
I did come up with a Mad Magazine though.
Oh, go for it.
Surly edition.
Oh my gosh. Mine was Surly Sedition.
I was also toying with rendition
Yeah.
or addition, like subtraction.
Aaron just comes in with a really good one. Surely you're kidding. He's just so good at coming up with something that's old-timey in the way that Mad would be
I feel
old-timey.
like he's a little more daring with his as well, whereas I'm trying to stick with the actual rhyming structure.
That's right.
I need to be a little more out there.
Let loose. We did not mention the cat.
The cat brings the paper.
The cat brings the paper. And I wanted to bring up this cat because there is a website called Cinema Cats that has a very thorough article about basically every cat that's ever appeared in a television show or a movie. And so I'm going to read to you about Panther the Cat, who is the star of Early Edition. The mysterious orange tabby cat, which features so prominently in this series, was played by cat actor Panther, a shelter rescue cat adopted by trainer Bill Casey. The cat was so important to the series that he even appears in the opening credits. According to the book, The Encyclopedia of TV Pets, trainer Casey kept seeing Panther in a shelter and that he seemed sickly, so he eventually adopted the cat and spent much time and money trying to cure him. When the director, Michael Dinner, requested Panther specifically for the series, Casey let him do the pilot. Panther then went on to appear throughout the series, although he did later have an understudy named Carl, which Casey explains was the name of the cat character, even though it wasn't necessarily mentioned on the show itself. According to one newspaper report, director Dinner wanted a cat for the part, which reminded him of an orange Tom named Carl that used to hang out on the 20th Century lot. Casey explained in many print articles about how Panther's favorite incentive treat was fancy feast on a spoon. Even though Panther was already an older cat when he got the job on the series and even had a major surgery between the first and second seasons, there's no question he was a natural and his personality came through on screen.
This is important information.
The article ends with final musings. Who says only dogs will bring the newspaper? Adorable. The cat is also never explained. The cat is sort of a clue at one point. In one of the episodes I watched, he's at the Chicago Sun-Times and he sees an old archival photograph of this guy, Lucius Snow, who comes up later in the series finale. And there's this orange cat sitting next to him. And Kyle Chandler's like, oh, I recognize that cat. And I was like, that cat looks like a million other cats. That must be a magical cat that never dies. And with this cat comes a magic newspaper. Like, are you kidding?
And no accent corner.
Oh, no. Yes, there is. Chicago.
Is he supposed to be from Chicago? the main character?
I think so.
Kyle Chandler's born in Buffalo, but I don't know where he was. He grew up in suburban Lake Forest, Illinois until he was 11.
Right. That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
Then his family moved to Georgia.
So Fisher Stevens is from Chicago. I don't know if you realize this, but Fisher Stevens is the guy doing the voiceover.
I don't know if I did.
Because it's not really clear whose perspective it is from, but it sounded like someone was really leaning into the accent for the voiceover. So I had to look it up.
I guess I didn't find it too noticeable.
But it is a very Chicago show. They mentioned Chicago Hope in the first episode.
I didn't notice. And then most 90s, pretty mild.
I
guess getting the newspaper is pretty 90s.
Getting the newspaper. Yeah, that's number one. One of the most 90s things to me was actually the origin story for how this show got on the air. Apparently, when they were like pitching the show, they were having this meeting to try and sell it. And the writing team had a fake newspaper mocked up where the headline said, "Let's just end it. O.J. Simpson confesses he is guilty of homicide." When they were pitching it, it was during the really long OJ trial. I guess during the meeting, there's this newspaper. They don't mention that it's like fake. They just leave it out. And it started this hubbub in the room. They're like, oh my gosh, he did, blah, 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 blah. During the time when people actually got news from a newspaper and not a push notification on your phone. So then that intriguing little stage drama basically got the show an order. Because they were so intrigued by this idea that what if you could change history, basically.
Wow.
I did want to give you all of my facts about Fisher Stevens.
Okay.
1, would you like to guess what Fisher Stevens's real name is?
Jon Stewart.
Stephen Fisher. And then from his IMDb page, it says that he is good friends with Rob Morrow. And the two regularly ski together. Once, while skiing with Chad Lowe, the three got lost and had to be rescued. I guess that is trivia. I don't know.
That's very 90s.
And then this, I think, will really blow your socks off. Fisher Stevens dated Michelle Pfeiffer for 3 years. I feel like that bit of trivia gives Aaron hope. He's like, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think Fisher Stevens is a bad looking guy. I think he has a very strangely skinny neck.
He does. And it's only getting weirder. On Succession.
Stop all those neck exercises.
On Succession, it's like really getting ropey. Yeah. It makes him look like a bobblehead. He's not ugly, but he's not a matinee idol. I also think Michelle Pfeiffer has really weird taste in men. I mean,
that's like that guy that Christina Hendricks was married to, Jeffrey
oh,
Arendt.
Yeah.
Similar match.
Very much so. I like it.
So I have some news. I auditioned on Monday night for community theater.
Oh, yay. Good
and I've already found out I didn't get it.
Oh.
But I wanted to tell you how the audition went. So I had it in mind that I wanted to audition because they're going to do this Edward Albee play, Three Tall Women.
Oh, yeah. And you're like, I'm tall.
And I read it. It only has 3 characters, and all the characters are one woman in different phases of her life. So there's someone in her 20s, one in her 50s, and one in her 90s. And I thought, well, I could play the 50-year-old. I'll just draw some lines here and like dowdy myself down. Before you know it, this 41-year-old could be a 55-year-old.
No problem.
No problem.
Easy.
But I had no idea when the auditions were going to be. So I would just keep checking the site, and I checked it on Sunday and it said auditions are tomorrow. So I had one day to prepare a 3-minute monologue.
Ooh, yikes.
So I found this monologue that was really weird, where a woman is talking to a bingo chip she finds on the floor for 3 minutes. And I memorized it. I worked my butt off like all day memorizing it. And then I abandoned my children to go to the audition. And there were like 15 other people auditioning. And the character is supposed to be tall, because I think Edward Albee wrote it about his mother, who was tall. And I was by far the tallest person there. Like every other person there was maybe 5'7" tops, and I'm 5'10". Like,
I'm a shoo-in.
No, I'm not a shoo-in. It's bad because they need to find 3 people of the same height.
You're right.
So Greg and I are of the belief that there were no other 2 people who could match me in terms of stature.
No one matched you. Yeah.
So they were like, didn't even really consider it. But the guy who is the director who led the audition was a truly fascinating theater dude. He's very, very old. He was like clearly in his 70s, and he's sitting there, and I come in and thank you for coming to the audition. And there are only 15 of us auditioning. I was the last one to come, and I did the monologue, and I actually didn't even get through it. He like said, okay, And then he said something like, acting is painting with different colors.
Mhm.
And you can paint with many different colors. You can paint with reds, you can paint with blues. And they're all beautiful paintings, but with all different colors. And I said, yeah. And he said, so I want you to come back in and I want you to do it all over again. Paint it different colors. I said, okay. So I came back in and I just did everything differently as
Mhm.
much as I could. And then they're like, okay, that's good. And then I came back later and I read from the actual play and I totally beefed it.
This is giving me flashbacks to high school when I was always trying to audition for plays, and I was always relegated to the stage crew because I just never got it together. I always ate it so hard at auditions.
Part of the reason why I did this is just because, one, having a midlife crisis, but two, as someone who consumes a lot of media, when you watch someone who's a bad actor, it's clear what they're trying to do. You're never like, what's going on here? I mean, you can tell what they're trying to get across. It's just not being done well. And the difference between someone doing it well and not doing it well is kind of ephemeral. And so I'm kind of interested in, could I actually do it well? I don't know. The scene that I had to do from the play is relaying a sexual encounter. And it just like felt like lead in my mouth, like the way she did it. Like it just felt like something I would never say. And I just found it really hard to.
Are you at all familiar with Edward Albee's
Well, I've
work?
read and seen Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but that's it.
That movie is almost a horror movie to me. Like that play, it's just so relentless. Such a downer.
What's the twist at the end that like their son is dead?
Yeah, their son is dead or was never alive in the first place, or I don't know. I feel like at least being in that play would be traumatizing to me. Imagine being in the Broadway revival of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I'd just be like crying in my dressing room afterwards every day. Like, this is brutal. Well, congratulations to you. I'm really proud of you for trying.
I think my first foray out, maybe I don't want to be one of the three actors on stage for an entire play.
Exactly. So. That might have been biting off more than you could chew. Start easy and then work your way up. That's my advice. Try and get in the chorus, or
I'm going to see Anything Goes there.
Ooh.
Next month.
That's a fun show.
It's funny how they charge more for the musicals. The plays are $15 and the musicals are $28.
You got to hire a dance person, a choreographer. There's probably a lot more costumes. I mean, 3 tall women, they each have one costume, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and it's probably one of those sets. Everything's gray. There's no like real set dressing. It's just this blank.
But I wonder if they just have a set price for plays and a set price for musicals, or whether they like look at the budget for each individual one and assess what the ticket cost should be.
I don't know. I guess you'll find out
when I get in there, getting those nuts and bolts.
Or just you keep attending and do that data analysis yourself.
I'm this close to buying one of those stones with my name on it for the sidewalk. Oh, like the fundraiser.
That's nice.
So what Ya Watchin?
Well, I watched the first 2 episodes of that Taylor Sheridan show, The Mayor of Kingstown.
Wonderfully named.
Dude, just change the title. They had a lot of time. Mayor of Easttown came out months ago.
Won Emmys.
They should have cut their losses. The Mayor of Kingstown. I can't do it. It takes a lot of effort for me to say it.
Yeah, the cognitive load of having to switch tracks.
Imagine someone from Philly trying to say, they just say Mayor of Kingstown. Mayor of Kingstown.
How was it though?
I didn't really like it.
The topic doesn't interest me. Prisons and corruption and stuff.
It was kind of silly. So it's Jeremy Renner, Kyle Chandler's in it, but it's about this like family who, the mayor of Kingstown, he's not actually the elected mayor. It sort of means like the guy.
Like the guy that sits on your block is the mayor of the block.
Exactly. He gets things done for people who are in prison. It was goofy. I didn't really like it. And also the Paramount Plus commercials were so annoying that we were going to check out Yellowstone. And then after trying to watch 2 episodes of The Mayor of Kingstown, we were like, no, fuck it. If it's on Paramount Plus, we're not watching it.
So it looks like to skip the ads that you have to do $10 a month. The basic one is $5 a month. Did you see the article I sent you that was really funny? Oh, you think you can watch Yellowstone? Well, think again. And they go through all the different ways that you are stymied in trying to watch Yellowstone.
Oh my God. The commercials, they interrupt dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
When you watched TV on actual television, they would schedule things. There would be a break in the action, and this just bursts in and interrupts everything. It was really annoying.
I finished Dune. That movie Dune with Timothy Chalamet is only half of the book.
I know.
So there's like no, it just kind of like goes and then just like stops abruptly. Like there's no climax. Maybe it's because I watched it in 2 chunks, but it didn't really feel that climactic. It felt like the story was just ending in the middle. But you know, I went back and I was recapping to myself what happens in the later books. I wonder if you took the average person who's watching that movie and loving it, do they realize that in the 3rd book, Paul's son turns into a giant worm?
Probably not.
Like they're not going to do that 3rd book, are they? Like this guy turns into a worm by like taking all the baby worms and like tacking them on his skin to make an exoskeleton, and then he gradually like evolves into a worm. So like that's where this story is going. and then throughout like the books, they take the planet from a desert planet and then they turn it into like a garden planet. They terraform it, and then they like change their mind and turn it back. Like it's just a very stupid story.
So I've never read any of the Dune books. So I'm
just read the wiki. It's
That's my impression. It doesn't seem possible to make it into a good movie.
I think the most interesting part is the group that I mentioned last week, which is the Bene Gesserit. But what I said last week was that this story made no sense as sci-fi because it's really fantasy, right?
Yeah.
But the more I delved into the wiki, the more I realized that they have all this in-depth explanation for why there's no actual technology in this world. And that is that they basically had almost a singularity where AIs were in the past, where like the robots were about to take over and they destroyed them all. And so that's why they banished all artificial intelligence in this reality. And so that's why technology is limited in certain ways. And that's why they rely on the spice, because it almost destroyed them. So that actually, in a way, within the logic of the world, it does actually make sense.
This is going to sound like a total tangent, but just go with me. Have you ever seen the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes movies?
No.
Okay. It's like a funny parody of 50s sci-fi.
I know the song for some reason.
Right.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly. My brother Adam went as a killer tomato for Halloween one year, which was not a costume that anyone understood. George Clooney was in one of the sequels. And George Clooney's character in the sequel to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, he owns a pizza shop. But this town has outlawed tomatoes. So the pizza shop does not use tomato sauce. It uses peanut butter. It uses, So there's all this like comedy about things that should have tomatoes, but that reminds me of Dune, just like outlawing computers and AI and everything. I guess we don't know this. This happened before.
I know I've been watching too much, but I've just had very brief descriptions of 2 other things, which
Okay.
is one, you told me to watch The Chair, and I did start watching it, and it's fantastic. And I haven't even got to David Duchovny yet, actually.
Oh my gosh.
I've only mentioned him.
I knew you would love this show. It really just aligns with so many of your interests.
I mean, I don't think the Duplosses have ever gone wrong. I gotta be honest. I've loved everything they've ever done. Okay, so what I saw yesterday was Palm Springs. Have you seen that?
The movie?
Yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of stupid.
A little bit, yeah.
So it's a movie with Christina Milioti and Andy Samberg. And why did people keep putting him in movies where he has to be serious? Like he can't pull it off.
I don't know.
I mean, he's not horribly bad. It's just like, it's a stretch. But also the only other thing I've ever seen her in is Made for Love, where she's wandering around a desert. And then in this movie, I've only seen her in movies where she's wandering around the desert. It's strange. And then there's one more thing I just started watching today, which I haven't finished, which is, do you recall in 2018, there was a house of horrors with 15 children in California? And one sister got free and she alerted all the others. Every day I was Googling this, trying to find out information. And because so many of them were minors, there was just no information out there. And then there was no information because there was no real trial because they just pled guilty and went straight to jail.
Right.
So there's no information out there. And for years I've been like, what happened? Because these people had 15 kids. It was like someone was forcing them to have children, but they did it on their own. And then they kept them in squalor and didn't let them go to school and chained them up and all this horrible stuff. But there's a 2020 special on Hulu. It's an hour and a half long with 2 of the sisters. And one of them is the one that went for help and alerted the police.
I heard about it. I basically got a push notification about it from a Facebook group I'm in. People are like, alert!
But do you know this part, which is this is a little bit of a spoiler, but all this horrible stuff happened to them after they were rescued.
Really?
Yes. So 6 minors were put into 2 foster homes. 5 of the younger children were housed in foster care with a family where abuse allegedly took place. In October 2019, they were adopted by that family while the abuse was occurring. And then the foster family was arrested and charged with abusing multiple children in their care, including at least one Turpin child. And then some of them are living independently, living in their own apartment, have jobs, going to school, blah, blah, blah. But then they say on the show that some are homeless and none may use the hundreds of thousands of dollars donated to them. The money was placed in a trust controlled by a court-appointed public guardian. And then Joshua Turpin stated he couldn't access funds and was denied the purchase of a bike. And then the one who went out and found the cops and rescued them all said she was released without warning from a foster home with no life skills, no plans for housing, or knowledge of how to get food and healthcare.
Oh my God. So now that Brittany is freed, let's turn our energy towards helping these kids. Get them access to that trust. I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's a really, really weird story because normally there's like one abusive parent and then one submissive parent that goes along. And in this case, it's both of them.
Yeah, that's what's called a folie à deux.
So cultured. And then The Great on Hulu about Catherine the Great starring Elle Fanning. I really enjoyed the first season and the second season just came out.
You've watched a lot. Now I feel...
I also did a puzzle, so...
Wow, Rachel. I was watching some stuff on Criterion Channel and I did watch a really wild one that I was just literally screaming while watching it. It was this 1950s Technicolor melodrama with Deborah Carr called Tea and Sympathy.
I've heard of it.
And it is notable because it's one of the first major motion pictures, like Hollywood movies, that addressed homosexuality. It's about this guy who is at a boys' boarding school and he's not masculine enough for everybody. Everyone else has crew cuts and his hair is like an inch longer and they're like, get out of here, sister boy, you know?
Oh,
It's totally nuts. And he's like not even gay. That's the whole kicker of it. He has like a crush on the house mistress of his dorm. They're on the beach and all of the boys are roughhousing and he instead goes to hang out with Deborah Carr and her friends. And one of them is like sewing a button on. He's like, oh, I know how to sew. Let me do that. And then the other boys see him sewing and they're like, oh my God, let's just murder him. They could not believe that he would be sewing. And then the rest of the movie is basically him being bullied to the point of attempting suicide. It was nuts.
That reminds me of Suddenly
crazy.
Last Summer.
Same kind of thing. That movie's so weird and histrionic and the dialogue is so crazy. It's hard to take.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. Like a bunch of people eat this guy.
Yeah, it does not make sense at all. I think that's it, Rachel.
We've covered it all. All right. Well, this has been Sliders and Wings.
Yes.
You can email us at slidersandwings@gmail.com.
And you can check us out on our Instagram at Sliders and Wings Pod. We'll see if we'll ever get more engagement than our Dr. Quinn episode.
I've had my own personal account with like 200 or 300 friends. I've had an interior design Instagram account with like 300 followers and another one from another business of mine with 200 or 300 followers. And I've never had as many likes on a post in all that time than I did for the one lone Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman post. Like immediately 75 likes.
I had no idea that there was such a rabid fan base.
I think they probably just started showing it in Poland or something because a lot of Polish people were
foreign languages. But I did follow one of the accounts who is just slowly recapping all of the episodes. And
oh yeah, she's like, there's this scene with Sully and their love for each other and they can't.
Sully is embarrassed because he doesn't know how to pray, and Michaela, it's
so when I do the early edition one, I'll tag Kyle Chandler. We'll see what's up.
We'll see what happens. Gotta be a lot of fans for him.
All right, good night.
All right, good night, Rachel.